Big news for the 49ers, and a real shot in the arm for Brock Purdy in this offense. Ricky Pearsall is back in the mix and expected to play this Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. That's not rumor. It's been confirmed by the team and picked up broadly by national outlets after Pearsall returned to practice this week and Kyle Shanahan indicated Pearsall would be available. This is huge because Pearsall isn't just a depth piece. When healthy, he brings vertical juice, reliable contested catch ability, and a genuine field-flipping element that this offense has missed since Week 4. Let me be blunt. The 49ers receiving core has been a paper cut, manageable most weeks, but cumulative and painful. Brandon Ayuk remains out of the window, and while the team has worked through injuries and personnel shuffling, the offense hasn't had the same dynamic options to threaten defenses downfield. Pearsall's return changes the tempo on a few different levels. First, it reintroduces a vertical threat who forces safeties to respect the deep third. That single strategic effect opens up underneath routes, screens, and the timing passes Kyle Shanahan loves to run for Christian McCaffrey. If defenses can't sheet up against the deep ball, the Niners' intermediate passing game gets cleaner, and Purdy's reads become less cluttered. Second, Pearsall's presence eases some pressure off McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk, assuming Ayuk's return timetable doesn't slip further, and gives Purdy a more diverse set of targets to cycle through. We've seen how dangerous this offense is when Purdy has more dependable weapons. Pearsall isn't a replacement for Ayuk, but he's a meaningful complement. The timing on this return couldn't be better. The Cardinals present matchup quirks where a perimeter vertical option can tilt the field in San Francisco's favor. That's not conjecture, it's football arithmetic. More spacing equals more room to run and more throwing lanes to hit. Now also on the roster front, Brock Purdy is trending back into the starting role after dealing with turf toe issues, and the reports are that he's expected to play this week. That's another critical piece of context. Purdy's effectiveness is tied directly to the playmakers around him. When he's moving in rhythm and has options like Pearsall and McCaffrey underneath, this offense becomes one of the most efficient in the league. If Purdy starts and Pearsall plays, the 49ers restore a level of continuity they sorely lacked over recent weeks. Let's break down the practical X's and O's implications of Pearsall's return for Sunday's game. First, schematic flexibility. Shanahan can dial up more too-high looks and trust his offense to win cover 2 and cover 3 reps vertically. When defenses are forced to hold a safety or two over the top, that helps open the seam windows for McCaffrey and tight end targets like George Kittle, and it creates angles for play action that Purdy can exploit. Practically, you'll see more pace on first and second down and more deep shot play calls that test Arizona's secondary. Second, situational leverage. In the red zone and on third and long, Pearsall's ability to stretch a defense forces contested throws that work in the Niners' favor because they've got smart route combinations and a quarterback who can move the ball quickly when under duress. Third and long coverage that previously allowed Cardinals defenders to sit on shorter routes now has to account for Pearsall's vertical speed, and that increases the chance of getting chunk plays that flip field position and change expected points on the drive. Those are small edges that compound over a 60-minute game. We also have to talk about the Cardinals. They'll show up ready and aggressive. That's Arizona's identity. Their secondary has been decent in specific packages, but is susceptible to misdirection and play action. An important context, the Cardinals' injury report and game planning matter here. Expect Arizona to prioritize defending the intermediate seams and the run game, but Pearsall forces them to stay honest. If Kyler Murray, or whoever's under center for Arizona, feels pressure to cover the deep third, that margins a number of open lanes for McCaffrey and Kittle to exploit in the intermediate space. That's textbook offense versus defense chess. Now, let's be clear about Pearsall's health. He's been recovering from a knee issue, a PCL situation that sidelined him for multiple weeks. The team has been cautious, which is right. The Niners cannot afford to burn a promising young receiver by returning him too early. The fact that he practiced this week and was listed as limited before being cleared to play speaks to a managed ramp-up plan. Limited reps, controlled routes, monitored snaps. That's smart roster management. Pearsall won't likely play a full snap count on day one, but even spot target usage, especially deep shots on early downs and 2-minute sequences, provides outsized value. What about Sunday's game flow? If Purdy starts and the 49ers get Pearsall in early, I'd expect the 49ers to come out more aggressive than they did in some recent weeks. Expect early run balance to probe the Cardinals' front and then quick shot opportunities to Pearsall or other verticals off of RPO and play action. My worry, and it's a realistic worry, is offensive line continuity. The Niners need clean pockets early to let Purdy settle and use his reads. If the line gets pushed back and Purdy is under duress, big plays become riskier and the game slows down to dink and dunk. That benefits a defense like Arizona, which can funnel plays to the sideline and limit chunk gains. So one key, protect the quarterback early. The defense side for San Francisco still has questions. They've done a lot with less this season and have been resilient at times. But the pass rush remains a work in progress. When you add Pearsall into the offense, you're asking the defense to make fewer game-winning plays, because the offense should naturally extend drives and convert more third downs. That's the simplest way to look at complementary football. If your offense sustains, your defense rests and can be more situationally sharp in pressure moments. Does that absolve the pass rush issues? No, but it mitigates the exposure the defense has faced when they've been on the field too long. This is also a morale moment. Football is a momentum sport off the field as much as on. When a young guy like Pearsall returns, it's a psychological lift. Players rally around returns because it signals healing, progress, and the possibility of better days. For Purdy specifically, the luxury of having an additional trustworthy target, someone he's practiced with and who understands the route concepts, is a comfort. That reduces the chance of tight shoulder play, forces defenses to adjust, and frankly, gives coaches more creativity on third down packages. Don't underestimate the soft skill lift this provides inside the locker room. So what should we look for in the box score and tape to gauge whether Pearsall's return matters? First, snap share and routes run. If he's near a 50% snap share and gets vertical targets on early downs, that's a strong sign of trust. Second, third down conversions and explosive plays, 20-plus yards tied to his presence. Third, how defenses align. If safeties are spending more time split over the top, that's immediate evidence Pearsall is affecting coverage. Fourth, Purdy's completion percentage on throws past the line of scrimmage. An increase there is tied to cleaner reads and spacing that Pearsall helps create. I don't want to sugarcoat this. Risk remains. Pearsall's knee is a variable, and early game limitations could manifest. The offensive line still needs to provide Purdy with time. The pass rush needs to be better than league-worst numbers, or Arizona's playmakers could still make life miserable. But the incremental gains from Pearsall's return are real and measurable. It's not a cure-all, but it's a meaningful treatment. In a league where small edge cases win games, adding a vertical thread back into the rotation is objectively positive. Here's the short playbook takeaway. If Purdy starts, protects the football, and Pearsall is featured on vertical and situational snaps, the Niners' offense improves in both explosive potential and efficiency. That should shrink the defense's exposure and increase the probability of controlling the clock and game script. If those three things align, San Francisco's path to victory is straightforward. Establish the run to set up play action, use Pearsall and Kittle to stress the deep and intermediate zones, and force Arizona into third and long situations where the defense has to convert more than expected. Finally, for the fans, temper realistic optimism with caution. This is meaningful good news and it opens possibilities, not guarantees. The next 48 hours of practice reports and Thursday-Friday injury confirmations will matter. Watch the snap count plans and the coach's language. Limited participation versus full practice tells you the degree of readiness. But across the board, Pearsall's return is a positive structural change for the 49ers offense and a real boost for Brock Purdy in a game where momentum and matchups matter more than headlines. Play smart, watch the practice reports, and on Sunday, watch how Kyle Shanahan uses Pearsall in the first 2 drives. That will tell you everything you need to know about how serious this return is. If you're a 49ers fan, allow yourself a cautious smile. This is a real piece of good news in a season that's demanded resilience.